and physical activity resulted in a 31% reduction in diabetes incidence among older adults with the metabolic syndrome or if they're battling with their weight, compared to those who received only Mediterranean diet advice. When we talk about the Mediterranean diet, is one we've mentioned on this show: fruits, vegetables, nuts, peas and beans, low fat and low salt, perhaps drizzled with olive oil. Participants in this Spanish study lost more weight and waist circumference when they had adherence to diet with physical activity. However, it may be difficult in some parts of the world because of the higher costs for ingredients. Healthy eating is not so cheap. And when you think about the cost of extra virgin oil versus the Spanish or the Mediterranean countries, it may be very exorbitant. And further afield, a study associated with higher levels of vigorous physical activity was linked to a lower chance of having adverse left ventricular diastolic function in younger persons. So that's a mouthful. And the heart has 4 chambers. The left ventricle is one of the major parts that pumps blood to the rest of the body. And data in this study showed that 22% of teenagers at a normal weight but low levels of vigorous physical activity had problems with relaxation of that left ventricle. That's diastolic dysfunction is the medical term. So you have systole, which is contraction, and diastole, which is relaxation. And this was an issue with 28% of younger people if they were overweight and 45% of them who were obese. So remember, each additional minute of vigorous physical activity is associated with a reduced risk of having problems with that chamber in the heart, the left ventricle. And if you continue with regular exercise, there was a separate study showing that it helped memory, cognitive function in stroke survivors. There was a rare and alarming case of a certain infection, screwworm infection, reported in the United States in a person returning from El Salvador. So that New World screwworm, so it's a flesh-eating parasitic infestation caused by that screwworm that you're seeing on your screen. So the larvae, it's not the first time that they've identified someone who was infected, but it's the first travel-associated human case. So they've been seeing it in places in Central America. In fact, just last week, there was a report in Belize, and health officials are stressing that the risk to the wider public remains very low. So thankfully, the patient has fully recovered, and there's no sign of spread. So the parasite has been ravaging some parts of the world since 2023, that Latin America, and poses a serious threat to animals and agriculture. It burrows into wounds and feeds on live tissue. It was mostly eradicated in the US decades ago using a fascinating technique. They released millions of sterile male flies from airplanes to stop the species from reproducing. So that's interesting. So the male flies were sterile, and it was able to stop the larvae from being produced. Sounds like science fiction, but it's a reminder of the delicate balance between human travel, the health of animals, and of course the control of disease around the world. Trinidad and Tobago this week staged its own theater of the absurd when a young man with a white coat pressed, stethoscopes winging, he allegedly strutted through the hospital corridors like a surgeon, rehearsing for prime time. Within hours, social media lit up and transformed this doctor, so-called, into folklore. But beneath the laughter and lies, there was something more unsettling. It was a mirror held up to our society, and perhaps a psychological puzzle worth dissecting. Because when someone impersonates a doctor, we can't just say it's a mere prank. In fact, in psychiatry, such behavior often falls under a term called delusional disorder or even schizophrenia, particularly if the person genuinely believes that he's qualified, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. There's also the possibility of pathological lying, happening. Pseudologia fantastica is the Latin term. And that's where the individual starts to construct a fantasy identity to fill these internal voids. And in fact, if you're a movie buff, you can think of Leonardo DiCaprio in a show called Catch Me If You Can from 2003. So only, of course, without Tom Hanks trying to chase you across continents. Now, pathological liars abound in public life, especially in politics, where deception often seems less like a shameful flaw and more like a job requirement, because on some of these platforms it's almost like rebranded as campaign promises. So while a fake doctor may have stethoscopes and lab coats, some politicians will tend to parade with grandiose titles, ribbon-cutting scissors, and this whole thing about Vision 2030 that evaporate faster than hand sanitizer in a pandemic. But the difference, one man's delusion gets him mockery, but the others will tend to get him votes, motorcades, and a pension for life. Sometimes we hear about another syndrome called imposter syndrome, and I think a lot of people may tend to have this, where they doubt their competence despite being fully qualified. And perhaps this fellow had the reverse, supreme self-confidence with no qualifications whatsoever. There's even another term which came to the front burner during COVID, the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a psychological bias that explains why people with the least knowledge are often the most confident. You know, in medicine, it's sometimes you have someone will want to talk about managing their thyroid because they watched a 3-minute video on social media. And medical imposters, of course, aren't new. History records quacks who peddle snake oil for every ailment. We see it sometimes on TV, and we hear it on radio, where charlatans promise miracle cures. In the 19th century, newspapers warned of fake doctors who actually offered arsenic tonics for female troubles, and some made fortunes before being exposed. The difference now is that social media exposure is instant. Ridicule is now viral, and reputations are demolished in hours. But so too is misinformation. Fake doctors can amass followers online faster than real doctors may finish a ward round. So I think it's actually a twofold prescription. For the public, you want to verify before you trust, because it's more than just a white coat. It's years of studies, exams and failures, late nights and heartbreak. And sometimes you want to demand credentials the same way you demand an engineer before crossing a bridge. And for the system, we must remember to protect our staff and patients by tightening security. It's also by creating an environment where trust is earned daily through competence and compassion. And maybe, just maybe, sometimes those who loudly proclaim their brilliance are often those whom you should be most wary of. As for our imposter, perhaps it's not just punishment, really. He may need a psychiatric evaluation and treatment, because in medicine, as in life, it's not just to laugh at the unwell. We try to heal them. It takes more than a stethoscope to heal, more than a lab coat to inspire trust. What our health system and society truly needs is vigilance, compassion, and a good old-fashioned injection of common sense. And as we close with CPL in the air, former Australian cricket captain Michael Clarke, who's just 44 years old, recently had surgery to remove skin cancer from his nose. And his message is simple but life-saving. Don't wait, get checked early. Because here's the thing, cancer doesn't arrive with a drum roll. It whispers through small changes in your skin, sore that won't heal, or moles that suddenly start looking suspicious. And if you catch those whispers early enough, you can stop the shout that comes later. Australia is believed to have the world's highest rate of skin cancer. But here in Trinidad and Tobago, with our love for the outdoors and blazing sun, we're probably not immune either. So protect yourself. Wear hats, long sleeves, sunglasses, and of course, you want to think about sunscreens with a sun protection factor of over 50. It's not just a decoration in your bag. Think about it as armor. We have a handy checklist called the ABCDE when we're thinking about a skin lesion. A for asymmetry, so the shape is different. Border irregularities for B. C, color variation. D, a diameter, so that's the width of the lesion. greater than 6 millimeters. It's changing over time. It's evolving over time. And if your mole or your skin lesion is ticking any of those boxes, don't Google it, don't guess, go to your doctor. So it's a reminder from Michael Clark that health isn't just about fitness, it's not about age. Even world-class athletes aren't exempt. Guard your skin, guard your health. And as CPL is in town, I'll close this segment by saying the best victory isn't scored on the cricket pitch. It's won when you outplay disease by spotting it early. It's time for a short break, and when we return, it's the Kiddies Capsule coming up next.
The moment my children came into my life, I do everything I can for them to live healthy, enjoyable lives. Nature's Ways Alive Kids Gummies are multivitamin gummies meant to support the development of children's bodies. They come in delicious fruit flavors and contain natural plant-based pectin. This means that if I'm looking for an alternative to animal-based gelatin for personal reasons, they are the best choice for my little ones. Choose Alive Kids Gummies by Nature's Way for your children because they deserve it.
Do you suffer from pain in your back, knees, or joints and need effective pain relief? Get your life back with Omega XL, a natural, safe, anti-inflammatory supplement. This small soft gel has up to 22 times more omega-3 free fatty acids than fish oil and is backed by 30 years of clinical research.
I can just tell you from my experiences, there's nothing like this Omega XL.
Live the life you deserve and get the relief you need. Get Omega XL now at your local pharmacy.
Big ambition starts with clear vision. This back-to-learning season, Rare Optical has eyewear packages for every learner. For kids 15 years and under, get a free frame with lenses starting at just $495. Scholars, it's time to level up your look with frame plus lenses from $750. Lifelong learners, purchase any frame $1,099 plus and unlock up to 30% off premium lenses like Eisen, Varilux, and Transitions in 8 bold colors. And don't miss your chance to win a $1,500 learning supply voucher or transition lenses when you purchase any eyewear package. Ferrera Optical, big ambition, clear vision. Visit us in store today. This promotion is NLCB approved.
Science calls it AMPK, your body's built-in system for burning fat, balancing blood sugar, and fueling energy. Berberine Plus naturally supports AMPK, helping you feel better, live better, be better. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Berberine Plus, powerful results naturally.
Welcome back to CNC3's Ask the Doctor, live on Thursdays with a rerun on Friday at 11 a.m. and Saturday at 11:30 a.m. From questions that make us smile to answers that make us think, this fan-favorite segment is where health meets imagination and wisdom comes in the most unexpected packages. So lean in, because when children talk about health, the truth is simple, powerful, and unforgettable. Let's open today's Kiddies Capsule.
Okay, so as we are all planning and learning about healthy diets, here are 6 foods that look like the organs they heal. Firstly, we have walnuts. Walnuts look a lot like the human brain. They have the similar shape, similar wrinkles, and even 2 hemispheres. Walnuts have a lot of fatty acids and omega-3, which is very important for the brain's health as it reduces inflammation, prevents neurodegenerative diseases, and even improves the brain memory and function.
Crazy thought though. Walnuts are hard, right? And they're similar to the brain. Maybe that's why we don't get pain during brain surgery.
True, that's true.
Yeah.
Next, we have carrots. Although a carrot may not look like an eye from the outside, if you slice it in half and observe the middle, it looks like an iris and a pupil. Carrots also have a lot of beta-carotene, which is essential for good vision, and it prevents eye diseases.
Tomatoes. Tomatoes not only share like kind of the same color as a human heart, but if you were to slice it down the middle, straight in half, you might notice that the fruit chambers are like the same of the heart. And now tomatoes aren't only delicious in salads and sandwiches, but they also contain a large amount of lycopene, an antioxidant which reduces oxidative stress and inflammation, which in turn boosts heart health, lowers cholesterol levels, and it reduces your chances of getting a heart disease. Crazy, right? Yeah. Next are avocados. Turn an avocado upside down and it looks an awful lot like a uterus. Fun fact, avocados take approximately like 9 months to grow from bud to fruit, just like humans. Folic acid in avocados helps the uterus to directly support reproductive health, and in some cases can even prevent birth defects. Yeah, amazing for pregnant people. And that's not all, right? Avocados can also aid in the development of the fetus.
I did not know that.
Grapes. Grapes, they don't look like a human lung from the outside, but they do bear a striking resemblance to the alveoli, which are small air sacs within the lungs, which enable the exchange of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide so we can breathe. The resveratrol and antioxidants in grapes are both good because they support respiratory health and they protect our lung tissue from damage. And they're delicious. The green ones, the best. And they also help to reduce the risk of asthma and clear toxins from your lungs.
And that's not all. There are many more. You can just do a little more research and you'll find things like sweet potatoes, which is good for the pancreas, mushrooms, which is good for the ears, celery, which is good for the bones, and even kidney beans, which is obviously good for the kidneys. Always remember, your health is your greatest wealth and knowledge is power. I am Ashana Vihari.
And I'm Abigail Prudham.
And this is your Kiddies Capsule. Bye!
Hello, my name is Vincent, the Diet and Specialist Learning Center. Vacations aren't just fun, they're super healthy too. When we have our vacations, our body and mind relaxes, we get better sleep, and our stress will reduce. It also gives us time to explore new things and places, and laugh and have fun. So remember, vacations are like a medicine for your body and mind. That was your Kiddies Capsule. Have a great night.
And as usual, a treasure trove of fascinating information in this evening's Kiddies Capsule. Feel free to send in videos of school-aged children discussing such health-related themes to Uncle Rajiv at 800 CNC3. It's time for a short break, and when we return, the Medical Minds segment awaits.
What should your parents use to fight inflammation?
Omega XL.
Tell me, boy, what do you think I should take, babe?
My mommy and daddy should use Omega XL to fight inflammation.
Get the best in affordable eyewear. Frames with blue filter lenses and eye exam, $399. Single vision lenses with transitions on designer frames, $799. Progressive transitions with designer frames, $1,399. Happening only at Seaview Optical. Affordable eye care for everyone.
Where's the car? Don't stress when your getaway car gets away. Have peace of mind with CG United Comprehensive Motor Insurance.
This mask is itchy. Does anyone have any lotion?
We can't protect you from scary clowns, but we can protect you from motor theft and damage. CG United. Good like that.
Plumbing problems? Don't guess. Call Plumbing Solutions at 628-4646. Proud to be serving Trinidad and Tobago for over 20 years. We do it all. Maintenance and repairs, new construction, sewer lines, inspection, drain cleaning, leak detection. We are licensed and insured, so call Plumbing Solutions at 628-4646.
Welcome back to your number one show for news, views and interviews of all things medical. In this segment, we welcome dental surgeon Dr. Dion Kunulal, who will be guiding us through the often misguided and highly impactful condition of TMJ dysfunction, a disorder of the temporomandibular joint that may cause pain, headaches, jaw locking, and difficulty chewing. Let's have a look at what Dr. Dion has in store for us in this evening's Medical Minds.
Someone who's been dealing with sensitive teeth, frequent headaches, or maybe even jaw discomfort that just won't go away. There's a chance that the issue may not be your teeth, but in the joint that connects your jaw to the rest of your head. Hi, I'm Dr. Dion Kunulal, and today we'll be talking about something many people suffer from, often without knowing the real cause. It's called TMJ dysfunction, also called temporomandibular joint disorder. So, what is TMJ dysfunction? The TMJ, or temporomandibular joint, is a hinge that connects your lower jaw to your skull. It's what allows you to talk, chew, yawn, and even smile. So here's something important. Only about 5% of TMJ issues come from a problem with the actual joint itself. But a whopping 95% are caused by what connects to the joint. Your jaw muscles, your bite, and yes, your teeth. So when patients come to me complaining of tooth sensitivity, frequent headaches, tightness of the jaw or face, earaches, or even neck pain, TMJ dysfunction is often the hidden cause. But how do we know if we have TMJ? Interestingly, most patients don't even know they grind their teeth. They don't wake up sore, they don't feel anything obvious, but as dentists, we see the signs. Let me explain it this way. Imagine you put a new set of tires on your car and then park it in the garage and come back weeks later and the tire treads are worn out. Now, unless your car took a ride on its own, someone's been driving it. In the same way, when we see wear patterns on teeth, even though you may not be aware of it, we know there's been grinding going on, especially at night. So, why does TMJ dysfunction happen? Our teeth are designed to come together like a perfect jigsaw puzzle. But for some people, that puzzle isn't quite aligned. The teeth don't fit together properly, and the jaw shifts to find a position that's comfortable for the bite. But here's the problem. That position may be comfortable for the teeth, but not for the joint. So, while you're asleep, the jaw is constantly moving, trying to find a balance between what's best for the teeth and what feels better for your TMJ. Just like going to the gym and doing heavy lifting, those muscles can become sore, tight, and fatigued. That tension can radiate up into the head, neck, and even your temples, often being mistaken for migraines. So, how do we treat it? Now, the good news is TMJ dysfunction is treatable, especially when caught early. Here are a few common approaches. Mouth guards. These are custom-made appliances for you to wear at night to reduce the grinding and ease the jaw tension. Desensitizing toothpaste. This helps if you're dealing with sensitivity for worn enamel. Tanner appliances. These are specialized devices that help reposition the jaw to a more relaxed state during sleep. Botox. In some cases, small doses of Botox can help relax overactive jaw muscles and reduce pain. And of course, regular monitoring, bite assessments, and sometimes referral to a TMJ specialist depending on the severity. Final thoughts. TMJ dysfunction is one of those conditions that can quietly affect your life. So, If you have been chasing migraines, treating tooth sensitivity, or feeling tension in your jaw for years without any clear answers, it might be time to take a closer look at the joint behind it all. Thank you to Dr. Tilak Singh and Ask the Doctor for having us.
And we say a special thank you to you, Dr. Dion, and indeed the entire Kunulal family for their love, support, and service to the nation. And I have been enjoying this series, and one of the cardinal points in that video is that it's sometimes difficult to diagnose TMJ dysfunction as the cause of these symptoms. Right, it's time to put your medical knowledge to the test, and our wonderful audience members are always up to the challenge. The giveaway segment with the compliments of Great Health Works is coming up next.
This is a serious problem in Trinidad. What is diabetes?
There are two forms. Diabetes type 1, when your body stops producing insulin. Type 2 diabetes is a result of poor lifestyle. Type 2 diabetes is associated with being overweight, having high blood pressure, at higher risk for heart disease. It is a very serious problem.
Do not wait until it's too late. Let Omega XL be the first step in the right direction.
Get your Omega XL today. Live long, stay strong with Omega XL.
You can tell from the crowd who's up next. It's Trinray's star player, whose world-class stats put him in a league of his own. Trinray's risen to become a true force to be reckoned with. With an unbeaten Carry A rating, they boast a strong solvency and A-class service. Ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing Trinray's financial and technical strength at its best.
Trinray, premier insurance coverage for less.
Whether you're an athlete, a business professional, or simply someone who values their health, Omega XL can empower you to keep doing what you love. Don't let joint discomfort hold you back.
Live long, stay strong with the XL brand.
Muscle Russell.
Shiklisha Limited, the Caribbean's largest manufacturers of plain and printed paper bags, leaders in plastic bags, vermicelli, split piece powder, and greaseproof paper, ideal for doubles, french fries, and sandwiches. Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Shiklisha Limited, 665-3336.
Welcome back to CNC3's Ask the Doctor. We're live on Thursdays with a rerun on Friday at 11 a.m. or Saturday at 11:30 in the morning. So the numbers on the screen, and as a reminder, when you're patched into the studio, listen on your telephone rather than the TV set, because there is a delay that creates confusion. So as we stand on the threshold of the 63rd anniversary of our independence, the 31st of August 1962 was when we gained independence from Great Britain. Our question is along that line. So it has a social studies flavor. I remember that in primary school. Who composed the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago? He placed first, apparently, in a competition back then in 1962, and that classic forged from the love of liberty. Who composed the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago? As we celebrate Independence Day, the phone lines are burning up. Good evening, and welcome to our show.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you for joining us, sir. Welcome to Ask the Doctor. So who composed our national anthem, forged from the love of liberty? Do you want to hazard a guess? A guess? I know it's a bit tricky and it's off the medical theme, but I thought with Independence Day upon us, it'd be nice to ask. Sounds like we lost that call, so the numbers on the screen once more. And the national anthem being sung at so many state functions and even in schools. However, because social studies is no longer being tested at SAA, we find that some of these current affairs questions or some of these items from our recent history are lost. Our next caller hails from Diego Martin. Good evening and welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am.
Yes, and that is Pat Castani.
Pat Castani.
He composed the national anthem.
Congratulations, ma'am. You're a winner. this evening.
Oh, thank you so much, Doc, and I love your show.
Oh,
very educational.
Thank you very much for being a part.
Your service.
You are most welcome, and it is an honor and privilege to have you as part of our Ask the Doctor family this evening.
Okay, thanks. I'm happy to be online too.
Thank you, ma'am. Have you tried these supplements before, by chance?
I did.
Okay.
I did some time back.
Yeah.
But I discontinued.
Okay.
You know, the little price range and
Let's have a look. Yes.
Yeah. But it did work for me.
Thank you
but
very much.
I discontinued it.
Yes.
After a while.
So it's an opportunity to reconnect and stay on the line because we want to take some of your personal information off the air. So
okay.
It's a pleasure. Love and blessings to you and your family in Diego Martin. Patrick Castani, born in Guyana and from Trinidadian parents. There is a fascinating video with him, an interview with Pat Castani on YouTube, and forged from the love of liberty. So 63 years of independence, and I must say that I'm pleased about the fact that there will be silent fireworks, and I hope it's a sign of things to come. The animals, the elderly, and those with palpitating hearts, and the infirm will be much thankful for it. It's time for a short break, and when we return, it's the open forum with more of your questions and hopefully answers. Stay with us.
Have you noticed the XL products at your local pharmacy? Endorsed by cricket star Andre Russell and many more, these supplements represent the pinnacle of natural health solutions, trusted for their efficacy and purity.
Welcome to RD Good Health Medical Center, your trusted partner in total wellness. We're conveniently located at 34B Southern Main Road, Montrose, Chaguanas. From consultations to diagnostics, vaccinations, and women's health, we're here for you. Our cutting-edge tech includes a 124-slice CT scanner, X-ray, ultrasound, and full lab services to ensure you get everything under one roof. Plus, our dialysis center offers expert, affordable care. RD Good Health, caring for you every step of the way. Contact us at 223-3730 or WhatsApp 725-4663 today.
What is BioStrath and what makes BioStrath so effective? BioStrath is a general wellness elixir. BioStrath helps your body to cope more effectively with life's everyday demands and stay healthy. BioStrath is based on fermented Strath herbal yeast. It is produced over a 2-month period by feeding friendly yeast cells with a mixture of herbs and nutrients. This process, which the yeast cells undergo, allows them to absorb 61 micronutrients, which can then be easily transferred to your body for your general well-being. This includes 11 vitamins, 20 amino acids, 11 important building substances, and 19 minerals and trace elements. Improve your overall health and well-being with BioStrath Premium Elixir for every age and every stage of life.
Welcome back to CNC3's Ask the Doctor. And the phone lines are open, the numbers on the screen. We'd love to hear from you with questions of a medical nature. Just as a reminder that when you're patched into the studio, listen on your telephone rather than the TV set. And if you wish to hear the response on your screen, that's fine. And we head to the Southland. Good evening and welcome to our show. Hello.
Good night, Doctor.
Welcome, ma'am. It's a pleasure to hear your voice.
Could you give me some more information on dry mouth?
Dry mouth. Thank you very much. And that's a fascinating question to open the batting, because the most important part of management, I would reckon, is to determine the cause of the dry mouth. Sometimes persons may find that their symptoms are exacerbated at night because they may breathe through their mouth. So sometimes mouth breathing, and especially if you are in an environment which is very dry, and if you have an environment with AC or a fan directly on your face, you may find that the mouth becomes dry. dry. There are medical conditions in which the salivary glands are affected, and as a result of the reduced production of antibodies are damaging the salivary glands, you may also have a dry mouth. Interestingly, it may occur as a side effect of medications, sometimes sleeping pills, drugs used for depression. Some of the tablets that you may tend to use at night may also account for a dry mouth. Sometimes a basic antihistamine, if you're sneezing and prone to Sahara dust, the commonest side effect is often a dry mouth. So, determination of the cause. Your doctor may want to send you for basic blood investigations. If your blood sugar is out of control, it may also be another reason. Determination of the cause is based on investigations, some basic blood tests, and sometimes looking at antibodies which may affect the salivary glands, and prescribing. Sometimes there may be tears for the eyes and the artificial saliva. You may want to speak to your pharmacist about it, or some lemon sweets which may stimulate the production of saliva. And of course, treatment of the underlying cause and discussing with your physician if there is an offending medication that could be accounting for this distressing symptom. And a dry mouth is not just an innocuous problem. It is something that may also increase the chance for having tooth infections and decay. So it's perhaps tied in with your dental surgeon. So have a chat with your primary care doctor, your dentist. You may even want to consider referral to an ears, nose, and throat specialist, with you at the center and having a multidisciplinary approach. Our next caller hails from Princestown. Good evening and welcome to our show. Hello?
Good evening, doctor.
Welcome, sir.
I would want to find out, doctor, what test is recommended for thyroid glands, and how do you know when your thyroid glands are not functioning properly, and what treatment is available for the thyroid glands? So I listen to you off the air, and hello?
Hello, yes, sir?
Yeah, I will listen to you off the air.
Certainly, and thank you for taking the time to call in. So the phone lines are burning up. I'm so pleased that you're taking a break from the CPL to look at Ask the Doctor. So the thyroid gland, and for the sake of our viewers, is a butterfly-shaped gland in the front of the neck. So there are right and left pear-shaped lobes, and in the middle there is an area of tissue called the isthmus. Now the thyroid gland produces hormones, and hormones are chemical messengers which are produced by these organs and are usually transported into the bloodstream and exhibit effects on target organs and tissues. So these hormones are referred to as T3 and T4. So sometimes a basic blood investigation would reveal levels of these hormones, and the thyroid gland is regulated by the master gland at the base of the brain called the pituitary, and that produces hormones, and inclusive of a test called the thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. So it's stimulating and sending signals to the thyroid. It also, the pituitary gland, which is the boss in this orchestra, is also sending signals to the adrenal glands, the ovaries, the testicles, and different organs. So the TSH is also a part of that basic blood test, thyroid stimulating hormone, and of course you're looking at free levels of T4 and T3. So the thyroid gland has many functions. It regulates your metabolism, weight, heat, and how you feel in general. It may be underfunctioning or hypothyroidism, it may be underactive, or it may be hyperactive, and the symptoms vary. Some persons, interestingly, may have no symptoms and a paucity of such, and the abnormalities are detected on a basic blood test. Now, many doctors may send you as part of a routine panel as we check your blood sugar, cholesterol, kidney, liver function. You may be sent for a thyroid function. And I always say that it's worthwhile checking, particularly if you have a family history. And many of the persons in this country who have thyroid disease may have an autoimmune reason, so in which antibodies are attacking the gland, may stimulate it, in which you are hyperactive, and the symptoms include weight weight loss, sweating, nervousness, anxiety, the heart may race, diarrhea, menstrual problems, and emotional issues. If it's underactive or hypothyroid, the symptoms may range from weight gain, cold intolerance, constipation, and depression. A hoarse voice. So the symptoms are innocuous. Sometimes, as I said, the disease may be asymptomatic. And of course, there is part of the spectrum of thyroid problems in which there may be lumps or nodules on the surface of the thyroid. It's uncommon to have thyroid cancer, but it should be borne in mind because it's the commonest hormonal type of cancer in the world. So most patients, if you have a nodule, I would say 95%, it would be benign. But however, if the sample is sent for testing and you're found to have thyroid cancer, once more, a multidisciplinary approach in conjunction with your primary care physician, the endocrinologist, who's a specialist dealing with hormones, the thyroid surgeon, even an ENT doctor, and of course the oncologist would have you at the center to determine the best course of action. So in summary, the thyroid gland, a butterfly-shaped organ weighing just about 15 to 20 grams, may be hyperactive, underactive, there may be nodules, and uncommonly there may be cancer in the thyroid gland. There are different forms of management ranging from tablets to surgery and a basic blood test just to determine if there are abnormalities, including the free T4, free T3, and TSH, and governed by the pituitary gland. Our next caller is from Central Trinidad, as Kunapir is on the line. Thank you for waiting, and good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Welcome, sir.
And again, commendations on your program, educating the country in a very holistic way.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm one of your callers who may not ask you a direct medical question in terms of getting healing in your body, but it's something that affects health.
Yes.
How do we treat with a doctor or a medical personnel who is on a shift 24 hours? I know they be on shift 24 hours, and then they have to attend to a patient. This is more from a management perspective.
Yes.
You have someone working for 24 hours, which we know the body needs some rest and so on in that period. How does that system work in our country? And because there may be young interns who may have to work 24 hours, and then they have to deal with a case that may come in, a priority case, and so on. How does this affect the health care and the efficiency in giving out the health care when someone is working 24 hours? That's something I thought might help us to understand the healthcare system better.
And thank you indeed. That's a magnificent question, because it delves into the issues that have almost become rites of passage for many of our junior doctors in terms of these long hours, problems with sleep, distorted relationships, fractured friendships, and even mental health issues. So you are actually addressing a problem that seems to affect the global medical or health fraternity. Problems in which doctors, particularly junior ones, are overworked, difficulties with their personal life, and it's leading to improper care. It's certainly going to affect the quality of care. Now, and there are places in the United Kingdom and the US that are actually passing laws in terms of the number of hours that doctors may work before it is deemed unsafe to do so. In fact, an analogy has been made that a junior doctor who has done a shift for 24 hours, when driving, may be impaired similar to someone who is inebriated, so a drunken driver. This is how serious we must examine the way that we view our medical teams. Perhaps shifts now must be split, and we have found this, that doctors are expected now on call to work up to midnight, and then a new team will come for the after midnight shift until the morning. And unfortunately, this does not solve the fact that as part of the rounds that they're expected to perform optimally. And unfortunately, you may have clinics that could extend into the afternoon. I share your concern because it's going to impact not just healthcare, but also the personal lives of our doctors and indeed the rest of the fraternity. It's time for the medical board perhaps to sit with the Trinidad and Tobago Medical Association to do a lot more to protect our junior doctors, not just in terms of their education and training when they go abroad, that will also assist, and hopefully they will return to our shores to lend advice. It's time for these associations to protect the doctors. They've been far too silent in terms of what we do. I remember in March of this year when there were issues with that article on the Emperor's New Hospital. They were notably silent, and I remember it because the Medical Association and the Medical Board need to protect physicians, not just from the politicians and from persons who wish to interfere, but also in terms of their health. I share your concern. We could do a lot more in terms of those shifts and, of course, what is expected of these doctors the following day. Wow, that's an interesting question. Certainly a bugbear for many of the physicians around the world. So I'm so glad that you brought it into the front burner, and thank you once more. As our next caller hails from the east, Arima is on the line. Good evening. Thank you for waiting.
Good night, Doc.
Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure to have you as part of our Ask the Doctor family.
Yes, after God, doctors and nurses, I want to thank you for this program every Tuesday. I don't miss it. I also want to thank Dr. Brittany Dean, who is live every lunchtime on 106. She's doing a good job. Dr. Brittany Dean and the Diabetes Association President, Dr. Dan. Very good, intelligent men and women. And I want to thank them. And this program, I recommend that this program should be in schools so that the children hear about these health. Anything with health, I am a fanatic about health. And I don't miss your program. Keep up the good work, so God bless you all.
Thank you very much for your support, and indeed, we continue to deliver care humbly and with love. And thank you for your support, and indeed, kudos to the rest of the medical team at GML that continue to disseminate information to the general public. It's time for a short break, and when we return, there'll be more of your questions and answers on the open forum. Don't go anywhere.
Is reliable, credible, and authentic. Thank you for trusting me to bring you the news. It's a privilege to be in your homes and hearts. With every story and every newscast, CNC3 is keeping you informed and inspired. When it comes to news, we are where you are.
Back on CNC3's Ask the Doctor. We head to the phone lines. Good evening and welcome to our show. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, ma'am. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm from Belmont.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome.
Yes.
We're hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yes. Good night, doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank God to get through to you.
Blessings to you, ma'am, and your family.
I'm having a problem in my head. On my head. Sometimes it's just cracking. When I turn right, left, back, forward, anything like that.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just a hearing a cracking in the head.
Would that be at the back of your neck that you're hearing that cracking?
It's just going, it's cracking,
that
cracking. Wondering what is that?
Yes. And thank you for taking the time to call in, and indeed a special hello to all of Belmont. locked in to ask the doctor. So I was wondering, the fact that you heard that cracking or felt it when you moved your head left to right could possibly mean that there may be changes to the back of the neck. So there are joints, of course, at the cervical spine. So it starts at the base of the brain, so the spine extends down to the waist. And the cervical spine has bones and joints, and there may be degenerative changes that may cause that sound. And of course, pain and stiffness may be part of the symptoms. Persons frequently get degeneration or arthritic changes to that part of the spine. We're always flexing, perhaps sleeping awkwardly at that region in the neck area. So have a chat with your doctor. Of course, these are often due to mechanical stresses. So sometimes just changing your posture, how you sleep. So of course, if we're bending, we're using our telephone, you're reading for long periods, some simple anti-inflammatories may help if you're getting pain, or some physiotherapy. So I often say that YouTube has excellent exercises, and we're assuming that it could be an issue to that part of the spine. There are terms like spondylosis that refers also to degeneration or wear and tear. Now, I'm not attempting to make a diagnosis. The cracking may not be to the skull or to the brain. It may occur at the base of the skull, and it extends from the cervical spine. Thank you so much for taking the time to call in, because I'm assuming that that could be the underlying reason, because it's so common. Our next caller hails from Laventille. Good evening. Welcome to Ask the Doctor.
Hi, good night, Doc.
Thank you for being part of the program.
I have an issue with the thyroid.
Yes, ma'am.
It's underactive, and I snore a lot. My husband don't get to sleep at all. Okay. And could you advise me do I have to do surgery, or because I'm on meds for it is over 20 years now, I have an issues with the thyroid.
And thank you very much for taking the time to call in. It's a very interesting question, because if the thyroid is underactive, some persons may have changes to the tongue, there may be enlargement, and even to the throat. So there may be structural abnormalities when you sleep that could be predisposing you to another issue called obstructive sleep apnea. So there would be a reduced level of oxygen during that time at sleep. And in fact, some persons, apart from snoring, it actually sounds like they're gasping or choking during that period. They may be drowsy during the day, and that's associated too with resistance to insulin, hypertension, and rhythm abnormalities of the heart. So despite the fact that you're on treatment, and most persons would be on thyroxine, which is a replacement hormone when the thyroid is underactive, it would make sense to have a chat with your physician when you go to clinic to determine whether there are structural abnormalities to the mouth or the back of the throat that would increase the chance for a separate syndrome, obstructive sleep apnea. Persons with wide necks, if they have increasing body weight and underactive thyroids, are at an elevated risk. It's diagnosed by a sleep study, so you don't have to stay at hospital for this, and a referral to an ears, nose, and throat specialist to determine whether surgical intervention is warranted. We usually would not recommend removal of the thyroid gland per se for this issue, unless there is compression to the windpipe or the gullet, if there are cancerous nodules, if the thyroid were hyperactive and we're struggling to control. So usually we would not consider surgery. However, in your case, it seems like snoring, and if you have some of those associated features, you'd want to consider sleep study and potentially a referral to an ENT surgeon to determine if obstructive sleep apnea is a separate problem. As we head to the deep south, as Point Fortin is on the line, good evening and welcome to our show.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Blessings.
Same to you and your family.
Now, my question is, if you're supposed to have a surgery done,
yes,
and you are given you went to the, you hear me?
Loud and clear, go right ahead. So if you're due to have a surgery.
Right. I went to clinic, and I'm supposed to go back clinic in 3 weeks' time.
Sure.
I did my blood test, everything, and I'm supposed to do a CT scan. And when I went to do the CT scan, they told me that I would not be able to get well till December. So I told the clerk, I said that the doctor wrote urgent on it.
Of course.
You know, to say no, unless they call them and tell them that it's urgent, I would have to take whatever date that is there for me. So what should I do?
Thank you very much. It's an interesting question, and I'm not sure if this operation is planned at the new Point Fortin Hospital, but there is usually a quality department or a customer service one that would be able to explore this. It's difficult to find the surgical team that would be performing the procedure to actually ask them to chat with the radiologists that would be involved with the CT scan. So your safest approach would be to liaise with customer services or quality department to determine if an earlier date for this CT scan would be needed, because agreed, if you have to wait for December, it means that the operation is going to be delayed. You'd have to wait for not just the appointment, but subsequently a few weeks later for a report. So you're looking for that operation into 2026, and it's unclear as to the urgency of it. Have a chat with them so that an earlier date will be afforded. You've already done blood investigations, and you don't want to reinvent a wheel and have to repeat so many of these tests. Thank you for taking the time to call in, and best wishes. I hope that all goes well with this surgical procedure planned. And if it's planned at San Fernando General, because it all falls under the umbrella of Southwest Regional Health Authority, that advice remains the same. Our final call is from the Sister Isles. Tobago is locked in. Good evening and welcome to our show.
Hi, good night. I'm 14 years old and I have thyroid.
Yes.
And the doctors and them said that my thyroid is abnormal, and they added extra dosage, the 7. I wanted to know your opinion on that.
Pardon me, I missed the last part of your call. So you're 14 years old and you're having problems with your thyroid. What did the doctors say?
They said that my thyroid is abnormal.
Right. Have they started you on a tablet, or have they recommended carbimazole?
Since I was 10.
Yes. Thank you very much for taking the time to call in, because we're speaking in this case about a hyperactive thyroid gland in a young person. The symptoms, as we mentioned, weight loss, sweating, heat intolerance, nervousness, anxiety, palpitations, menstrual issues, and even emotional lability. So the symptoms vary. Sometimes an irregular heartbeat may be the only clinical sign that a doctor elicits. And in a young person, it may be difficult to determine. And I'm glad that you actually had your blood investigations. As we mentioned, most persons may have an autoimmune cause. If the gland is enlarged, if the eyes are bulging, it may represent a problem called Graves' disease, named after the Irish doctor who identified this type of hyperthyroidism. So carbimazole is used as the initial form of treatment. It's quite safe and first line in places like the United Kingdom and in the West Indies. However, if you've been treated for the past 4 years and you are still battling with abnormal blood investigations, you're having symptoms of hyperthyroidism, you may want to consider another form of treatment. Radioactive iodine has been used successfully in younger people. You would want to have a chat, of course, in conjunction with your parents, the next of kin or guardians, along with you once more as the center. At 14 years old, you're still the center of the clinical encounter with your primary care doctor, the hormonal specialist, and indeed the person who may be administering this form of treatment. Surgery is still one of the forms of management, even in younger people. Of course, it should be avoided if possible because of the fact that you're young, but in the hands of an experienced surgeon, it should be performed with minimal complications. So it's difficult to say. I'm sure that they will want to monitor you perhaps every 3 months in terms of blood tests. You would be in a clinic, but it sounds like after 4 years that a more definitive form of treatment would be needed rather than you're staying on high doses of carbimazole. So the next stage might be to discuss whether you need to see an endocrinologist, a specialist involved in the hormones, about a subsequent stage in management, particularly as you get older. and if your symptoms are worsening. Parting is always such sweet sorrow, especially after such fascinating questions. Our closing quote is from a classic, The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald. Interestingly, it was made into a film starring Leonardo DiCaprio, second movie of his for the evening. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Now, that line from The Great Gatsby is one of the most haunting conclusions in literature. Fitzgerald is speaking to the human struggle against time and memory. No matter how hard we row forward, sometimes we feel that we are constantly being pulled back by the weight of the past. It's about the inescapable pull of history, regrets, and lost dreams. And yet, it's also about resilience, the refusal to stop rowing even when the current resists us. I'll keep shining a light where shadows still linger and asking the questions that too often remain unsaid. Because in medicine, as in life, the truth must be voiced to set us free. My deepest thanks to the brilliant team behind the lens who keep this heartbeat alive, and to my circle of light, Neela and little Daniel, whose smiles remind me why every broadcast is worth it. And to you, our viewers, thank you for opening your homes, your hearts, and sometimes even your hardest questions. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and above all, stay well. Until next time, may God's richest blessings cover you and your loved ones today and always. We'll see you next week on Ask the Doctor.
Ask the Doctor is brought to you in part by Alive, by Nature's Way, distributed by H&J Enterprises, and XL Health TT, the official supplements of the CPL.